welcome to Vintage Gaming Memories. Shall we play a game?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Please be sure to subscribe, and let's get right into this one. This video brings me much joy to make, and what's inside this box will make a great addition to my joy sticks and controllers. So I hope you enjoy what I have here. Okay, enough of the wordplay. Let's go on this joyride.
No!
There it is, the Joyboard Power Body Control by Amiga. I knew about this Joyboard from going through an old Antic Magazine from 1983, December 1983 to be exact, and actually I mentioned it in the short-lived series of videos that I created called Flashback 40 with Antics and Analogs. Check it out on the top right. I'll probably be restarting those in the coming weeks, so look for that. Those are pretty fun to do, but took a lot of time and work. But back to this item. This is very unique for the 1980s, because we've all probably seen this board, right? This is the Wii balance board for the Nintendo Wii, and this came out in 2007, so that's 17 years ago. But this Joyboard from Amiga came out 41 years ago. Now, Amiga has made other things for the Atari and the Commodore line. For example, I have a couple of these, which are called the Power Stick by Amiga. And this is for the Atari. Very simple joystick. It just sits in the palm of your hand, nice with a curved bottom base. And then you've got the two buttons, and the movement of the stick is very, very smooth. And it bounces right back to center. I know some people like it and some people don't. It's kind of preference, of course, with anything. But I sure like this one. It's one of my favorite ones because it's really simple. Let's get a good look at this Joyboard. Now the concept is you control the object in the game, whatever that may be, simply by just standing on the board and leaning or shifting your weight in a direction to move it. In order for that to work, the bottom is slightly elevated so you can pivot the board in 8 directions. So that's why you can kind of tell it's wobbling here. And if you look, the centerpiece here in the bottom does go out a little bit, which is enough for you to pivot around. Now, it's all plastic, so you may wonder about the weight limit. But if you're a kid, probably wouldn't care so much. Being that I'm an adult and I have this in my possession, I do know the weight limit is 250 pounds, so I won't worry so much about that. A little bit about the cost for this. This retailed back in 1983 for around $50. Fast forward 41 years, I got this used one for $32. I believe the seller noted that this does work, so we'll give it a simple test. But before we even do that, let me get a quick cleanup and come right back, because I got a feeling this will work just great once we test it out, and I'll probably just store it away. But I want to kind of clean it up a little bit, and we'll go from there. I just want to give you all just a good glance of what work is involved with cleaning things sometimes with louvers like this. You know, at a first glance, you may think, wow, it's clean. Really, just do a wipe over on top, which is what I did. And there was some yellowness that came off the black plastic. And that's expected for this being so old and probably stored away. So that's not surprising. But the hard part is these little grooves or louvers that are on the plastic, hard to get to. And you would just think, wow, you just need to do a quick wipe down and that'd be fine. Well, I actually did clean 3 of these 3 right here. You could probably not even tell on the camera, but there's a difference of how these look compared to the others. And let me just show you. Is I go and clean another one. So I've got a cotton swab here, dipped in some Lysol, and I'm going to do this 4th one here, which I have not cleaned yet. And check this out. I mean, that's just one pass down. I have to do it another time, and it's a little bit better. But definitely nasty. So each of these louvers has a bunch of gunk. Does it really matter? I'm not like a clean freak, but you know, I do want to keep the stuff I have clean once I get it. So anyway, so that's the work that goes into cleaning some of this stuff. And that's just the top part, which you'd think that's all you really care. But the bottom, or the other side of it too, has little louvers as well. And I already cleaned them, and that was the exact same thing, but not as bad. This has a lot more exposure to the grime that you would get normally on top. So that is the work that's cut out for me, as I will continue to do this. Another reason why you'd want to clean something very thoroughly, especially plastic, and for my purposes, that I use this Novus product all the time. And you don't want to apply this plastic clean and shine on top of something that has grime or dirt or dust on it. So you definitely want to do a nice thorough cleaning, then apply it, and then you're going to see this thing really shine and pop out. So let me continue doing this, and I'll be right back. Okay, this is clean and polished. You can kind of get a good view of the shiny black plastic all around. And that is courtesy of the Novus 1 product that I used and applied. So now let's really examine this board, even though it's pretty simple. As mentioned earlier, the top is where someone weighing less than 250 pounds would stand and shift their weight to move whatever object in the game that they're controlling. It is 8-directional, so it's great for those types of games, but the basic 4-directional games, like let's say Pac-Man, it might actually have you moving a different direction if you're not completely leaning in either a top, bottom, left, or right position. Now there is a joystick port right there. And I guess you could plug in a joystick to use the fire button in the game, since there's not a way to fire using this board itself. And we'll test that out shortly. And then the cord, as you can see, wrapped up, but it is 10 feet long, which is really nice. So you have plenty of movement when you connect this up to your Atari and have this on the ground. You have definitely a lot of space to work around while you watch the monitor or the TV hookup. Now, I'm aware of a few games that were specifically made for this Joyboard. There was Mogul Maniac, that's a slalom skiing game. And there was also Off Your Rocker, which looks like an assignment type of game where you would repeat a pattern shown by making the movement on the board, going up, down, left, or right, depending upon what it shows. And then there was Surf's Up, which was a surfing game. Now on eBay, you can get both Mogul Maniac and Off Your Rocker for the Atari 2600, but I don't believe Surf's Up was ever released. I unfortunately don't have any of them, but we don't need any of those to test this board out. So let's go and try this first on the Atari 800 XL that I have right over here in the workshop. And we'll do a simple game like Missile Command. Okay, I'm going to use my hands to emulate the movement for now, since it's on top of the workbench here. So we'll see how that reacts in the game. And I also connected the Amiga power stick into that joystick port to see if I can use that for the missile firing. So let's try this out. Let's try the firing first. That works great. Let's try the movement now. Looks good to me. Diagonal goes great as well. Simple to do it on top of a workbench with one hand moving it. I guess it'd be nice to see how this really works on the floor with someone's body movement. I'd like to see how that goes. But before we do that, I really want to see the inside of this. I'm curious on how this actually works underneath. And I think I know how it does work, but I want to show you all in case you haven't seen it. So let's open up the back and take a look at what's underneath here. All right, let's open this up. It's only 4 screws to remove the bottom portion here, which is the pivot point to control the movement. Let's see what's underneath there. All right, let's look closely at this. We can see the underside of the PCB and the wires coming into it, very similar to those wires that you would see on a normal joystick. And then you have these red plastic directional pieces that are tied to the pivot point. Basically, if you had this moving, you could see the plastic pieces touching the PCB. Now, There's 8 of them, which makes it 8 directional. You can kind of get a good glance at that. But these parts at the end are not touching the PCB. It's way inside there. You will see the center portion that is actually making contact to the PCB to have that register for the direction you want to go. Hard to see, right? So let's go ahead and remove these screws to get a better view. All right, let's remove the PCB carefully in case there's something underneath. And there we go. All right, here is a close-up of the PCB. And you can see right in the center there, around the circle, there's a bunch of connection points or contact points. So that is how a direction is determined once you touch the contact points with, let me show you the pieces here. The first portion is a rubber gasket of sorts, I guess you can say. It goes right over the top of the PCB. And if I had a game on right now, I just put a little pressure to any of the locations on this circle, it would actually move. But what they use on the Joyboard is this piece of plastic, this other piece that goes right through it, and then it sits on top of that plastic 8-directional piece in which it moves when you put weight. So let me see if I can reverse engineer this upside down. So if you put pressure on it, you can go in any of the 8 directions, such as this, as it just wobbles on it. But as I'm moving it, I'm making contact on that PCB with that rubber piece. So that's how all that works. Pretty simple, right? And it looks pretty clean. I don't think there's any issues with this, and it didn't have any issues when I was playing the game, so I'm pretty happy about that. So let's put all this back together, and we'll try this with a human. So like I said, I don't own any of the games that were made specifically for the Joyboard or that came with it when you purchased it, but thankfully we can easily load the ATR for the game and play it. So I have the ATR for Mogul Maniac in my Fujinet Professional. So all I have to do now is just load it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the light on because I think you could see the television image a lot better like that. And with the help of my favorite human, my son, he'll demonstrate how to play this on the Joyboard. And a little heads up, I did give him some advice or pointers that you need to lean forward in order to accelerate, which he's doing. And of course, the leaning on the left to the right to get through the gates, which he's doing pretty good. So what do you think so far? This easy or hard?
I mean, I don't know, but I think it definitely takes a bit to get used to.
All right, any last comments?
No, other than be sure to subscribe and comment below. And remember, keep your gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.
Couldn't said it better myself.